The 21st Battalion was an infantry battalion of the New Zealand Military Forces, which served during the Second World War. Formed in January 1940, it was part of the 5th Brigade, 2nd New Zealand Division of the Second New Zealand Expeditionary Force. The battalion saw action in Greece, Crete, North Africa and Italy before it was disbanded in December 1945. History, formation and training. Following the outbreak of the Second World War, the New Zealand government authorised the formation of the Second New Zealand Expeditionary Force, for service at home and abroad. Following consultation with the British government, it was decided that the main New Zealand contribution to the war effort would be in the form of an infantry division, the 2nd New Zealand Division, under the command of Major General Bernard Freyberg. The new division would require 9 battalions of infantry and consequently, several infantry battalions were formed from 1939 to 1940 with New Zealand volunteers. The 21st Battalion was formed in January 1940 at Papakura Military Camp, south of Auckland, and was the first of 3 infantry battalions designated to make up the 5th Infantry Brigade, the second echelon of the 2nd New Zealand Division, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Neil Mackey, a veteran of the First World War. Its personnel were all volunteers were drawn from the Auckland, Hauraki, Northland and Waikato districts. High Command had directed that training be limited to platoon activities, but Mackey, like most of the other battalion commanders of the brigade, focused the battalion's efforts on weaponry and fieldcraft. He even managed to organize battalion-level operations with divisional cavalry and engineering units. By April 1940, training had been completed and 21st Battalion was preparing to depart overseas. It duly embarked aboard the Empress of Japan on the 2nd of May 1940 and traveled in convoy with other troop ships to Scotland, with its first port call at Perth. The next stop would have been at Ceylon as the convoy traveled on towards its planned destination of the Middle East, but the invasion of Holland and France, followed by the entry of Italy into the war on the side of the Germans, forced a diversion. The convoy was now to make for England, and thus it stopped at Cape Town, and then Freetown, arriving at Gourock, in Scotland, on the 16th of June. Greece. The British government anticipated an invasion of Greece by the Germans in 1941 and decided to send troops to support the Greeks, who were already engaged against the Italians in Albania. The 2nd New Zealand Division was one of a number of Allied units dispatched to Greece in early March. By late March, 21st Battalion had arrived in Athens, where it was to carry out guard duty of vital installations around the city, while the rest of the division proceeded to the north of the country to garrison the Alakmon line. On the 6th of April, the day after Germany declared war on Greece, elements of the battalion guarding docks near Athens experienced a bombing raid which caused minor wounds to a couple of men. On the 8th of April, the battalion began moving to the front to rejoin 5th Infantry Brigade, which was now stationed at Olympus Pass. However, en route the battalion was diverted to the Platamont Tunnel, which was 15 miles from the town of Larissa. The defences here had been prepared by D Company of 26th Battalion. Orders were to hold the position, and should any part of it be lost, a counterattack was to be immediately made. The battalion, which arrived on the 9th of April, set to work further improving the defences, assisted for 3 days by the company from 26th Battalion until its departure. Casualties during the 21st Battalion's campaign in Greece amounted to 40 killed and wounded, with 230 personnel captured and made prisoners of war. Crete. The Glengyle arrived at Crete on the 25th of April and 21st Battalion were unloaded at Suda Bay. Initially it was believed that Crete was to simply be a staging point for the New Zealanders as they returned to Egypt. However, as military intelligence indicated a likely attack by the Germans, it was necessary to defend the island. The 5th Brigade was assigned the defensive Maleme airfield, with 21st Battalion positioned to the east guarding the beach and river mouth. It was also tasked with supporting 22nd Battalion if required. At this time, the battalion numbered 237 personnel, and 2 companies of New Zealand engineers were attached to boost its numbers. In early May, several parties of men, including Mackie, began arriving, having made the way to Crete from Greece by various means. However, Mackie was ill with dysentery and was soon taken to hospital, leaving Harding still as acting commander. Commanding officers. The following officers served as commanding officer of 21st Battalion: Lieutenant Colonel N. L. Mackie, Major E. A. Harding, Lieutenant Colonel J. M. Allen, Major T. V. Fitzpatrick, Lieutenant Colonel R. W. Harding, Lieutenant Colonel S. F. Allen, Lieutenant Colonel H. M. McElroy, Lieutenant Colonel M. C. Fairbrother, Lieutenant Colonel A. C. Trousdale, Lieutenant Colonel J. I. 30 July to October 1944, May to December 1945, Lieutenant Colonel E. A. McPhail.